there are less than 5,000 of them left in the entire world. While they do not have any natural predators, those black rhinos are hunted for a substance called keratin in their horns. Do y'all know what keratin is? Yeah, it's literally the same thing that makes up your hair and fingernails, right? Now, it doesn't serve any real purpose to humans since we have a plethora of it already. However, they have actually been using it as a type of medicine. Now, we are going to be able to get some very, very close to some bongos coming up here on the right-hand side, as well as a bouncing baby bongo. That is my favorite alliteration ever. And you can see that little guy up here on the right-hand side. Absolutely adorable, right? He's only a couple months old at this point, judging by his size. Now, I'm actually not seeing anything else out here in the forest, so we are going to set our sights about 400 miles over to the east, over to the banks of the Nile River. The Nile River is the longest river flowing through Africa, and this specific segment of the Nile River is what's called the Safi River. And it's going to be home to a lot of aquatic animals, animals that love to live in the water, as well as animals that love to live by the water as well, like the Nile hippopotamus. Now, I do feel like we have a pretty good chance of seeing some hippos out here tonight since they are nocturnal animals, which means they do typically come out, leave their river homes at nighttime in order to graze. They can actually travel about 6 miles each and every night uphill both ways, as my grandpa would say, in search of food. And, you know, they can actually consume about 150 pounds worth of vegetation each and every night. Now, they can be very difficult to spot at times, so sometimes you will actually hear them before you see them. Does anyone know what sound a hippo makes? It's called a wheeze honk. And to be a little bit more specific, it kind of sounds like Jabba the Hutt's laugh from Star Wars if you're familiar. And it is really cool though, because the more hippos respond to an individual hippo's wheeze honk, the more dominant that hippo is going to be. Now, I do see these giant white birds up here on the left-hand side, and those guys are known as pig's-back pelicans. They will get their names from the pig's backs that they develop during their mating season, and they have a wingspan of about 7 to 9 feet. Even with that quite impressive wingspan, believe it or not, they are one of the smallest of the pelicans. Now, I'm not seeing anything down there. Oh, wow, guys. If you actually look down there on the left-hand side, you can see what's called a float of Nile crocodiles. Those crocodiles can grow to be about 18 feet long, which means, yes, they're almost as long as a giraffe is tall. Now, on land, a crocodile can reach speeds of 35 miles per hour. And they do have extremely powerful jaws capable of taking down animals much larger than they are, like okapi and wildebeest. Their jaws can pack about 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. And typically, they only need to eat about once a week. And when it is time for them to chow down, they can consume about half of their body weight in one sitting, which if any of y'all were wondering, is about 300 pounds worth of food. Same though, right? And now we are going to set our sights about 1,000 miles to the south into the heart of the Serengeti grasslands. This area is more commonly known as the African savanna, and it's going to be home to some of the most famous animals out here in Africa. Does anyone know what kind of animals we might find out here in the savanna? Giraffes, absolutely. Yep, giraffes again. As well as lions, cheetahs, zebras. Basically, the entire cast of The Lion King, right? Now, each year, millions of those animals will travel the savannah in search of food and water. So let's see what we can find up here. Now, like I said, sometimes you actually hear the animals before you can see them. So there are a couple different animals that we might be able to see out here, like the wildebeest. Does anyone know what sound a wildebeest makes? It's actually a new sound, spelled G-N-U. So hopefully that's news to you. But we should hopefully be able to catch up with some wildebeest as well as some hyenas, hopefully, as well. Since hyenas are a little bit more nocturnal, let's see what we can find up here. coming up here on the left and the right hand side, and those are known as termite mountains. And if you want to make your own, they are made out of mud, clay, dung, and saliva. And once they solidify, they're literally as hard as concrete. Large animals like rhinos will use them as a scratching post, and once they're worn down, smaller antelope like springbuck will use them as a vantage point to spot predator in the tall savanna grass. Now I do see some wildebeest up here on the right hand side. You can see them taking little naps down there on the ground. Now the name wildebeest literally means wild beast in Afrikaans, and they are the largest migratory animal in the world. Now it is a pretty hard knock life for those wildebeest because they not only need to learn how to walk, but they also need to learn how to run within the first 15 minutes of their lives. Otherwise, they do risk being left behind by their herd, which is always on the move. Now, as you can see up here on the right-hand side, they will sleep in rows facing different directions, and they will do that in order to quickly escape from predators if they were to approach. Now, also down here on the left-hand side, down on the ground, you can see some baby Patterson's eland, as well as mom right behind them. Now, Patterson's eland, fully grown, the males can actually stand up to 6 feet tall, weigh up to 2,000 pounds, and even with that immense size, they can still jump up in the air about 8 feet high. The males will be about triple the size of a female, which is pretty insane to think about. And whenever the male Patterson's eland walk, their knees will actually click. And what might sound like a disadvantage to humans is actually very, very, very attractive to the Patterson's eland ladies. I do think I see something moving in these trees coming up here on the left-hand side. So let's see what this is, or what's going on up here. Actually, look at that, guys. You can see some giraffes up there on the left-hand side. Now, a group of giraffes like this is actually what's known as a tower. And it's pretty plain to see that they do tower over the entire savanna. An adult giraffe can stand about 20 feet tall, whereas a newborn giraffe is still about 6 feet tall at birth. Now, did you know that a giraffe actually only needs to sleep about 30 minutes each and every day? Think about that for a second. Think of all the things you could get done. Now, it does free up a lot of their busy schedule for their favorite pastime, which is eating. They can consume about 75 pounds worth of vegetation each and every day, and they will spend up to 20 hours each and every day chewing. Now, one thing that helps them eat so much food is their extremely long tongues, which grow anywhere between 16 and 20 inches long. Their tongues are so long, they can lick their own eyeballs. You're welcome. Now, coming up here on the right-hand side, you can see a baobab tree, and each year millions and millions of animals will travel the savanna in search of food and water. One great source of water is that baobab tree. Now, it does get its nickname, or it does get its name from the word meaning upside down, and it's pretty plain to see that it does only bloom about 3 months out of the year. The other 9 months it will stay bare in order to preserve water in its trunk. And between its trunk and its roots, it's a whopping 120,000 gallons of water. That fact has earned it the nickname of the Tree of Life by African locals. Now, coming up here on the left-hand side, you can see a fabulous flamboyance of greater flamingos. They are pretty great as they are the largest of the flamingo species. When they are hatched a gray color with black feet. Basically, they look like a little gray puffball. And they will get that pinkish color about a year into their lives from their diet, which basically means they eat a lot of shrimp. Now, the beta-carotene in the shrimp is what will turn their feathers pink. They're the lightest pink out of all of the flamingo species. Does anyone know why a flamingo will stand on one leg? No one? Neither do I. But it's actually kind of cool because it has never been proven either way. Some people believe it is a way of maintaining balance. Some people believe it is a way of regulating their temperatures, but it has never been proven either way. Actually, I had someone tell me the other day that some of their feet don't get cold. But kind of cool, never been proven. Now, if you do look up here on the left-hand side, you'll notice these two little fellows that kind of have the coloring of an Oreo. Although it is kind of hard to discern colors at this point in time, but those little guys are called Bontebok. Ba-ba-da-da-da. Bontebok. Now, those Bonteboks are a relative of the wildebeest, and once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, there was actually only 17 Bontebok left in the entire world. You heard me correctly, 17. Now, due to a large conservation effort by farmers, they are now thriving on reserves such as this. And you know, some farmers actually realized that they were being hunted so much that they were hitting the brink of extinction. I mean, 17 is basically extinct. And they realized one fatal flaw of the Bonteboks that they couldn't jump. So they put them in an enclosure and help them preserve them for future generations. Now, if you do look down in the sand up here on our left-hand side, you can see a lot of different animals have been through this area quite recently. You can see some very large footprints, some not so large footprints, as well as I think I see some paw prints as well. Now, paw prints could allude to a couple different animals. It could mean lions, it could mean cheetahs. Now, I know like cheetahs are very unlikely at this point since cheetahs do prefer to hunt during the day. Now, we might be able to see some lions up ahead, and this giant rock structure up ahead is what's called a kopie. And actually, do you see anything just lying around? If you actually look up on that rock, you can see the male lion just chilling up there. Proving that lions are very big cats with the mantra, if I sits, I sits. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a better look as we do come up around the corner. Now, lions are nocturnal hunters, so they typically will come out at nighttime in order to hunt. And that's because their vision is about 6 times more powerful at night. During the day, their vision is pretty similar to ours. So we'll give them a little bit of a strategic advantage over their prey. Now, female lionesses, which you can see laying about up here on the left-hand side, actually do the majority of the hunting, while males will stay back and guard the pride. They are very, very successful hunters, though, and they're one of the only big cats which are known to hunt cooperatively. And do you guys know what sound a lion makes? Yeah, they roar, right? Now, their roars are so loud, they can actually be heard from about 5 miles away. And she's tired. It's hard being the top of the food chain. Aren't they gorgeous? And you can see the male once again all the way up on the top. Now, Simba is the Swahili word for lion. So those of you who've seen The Lion King, Simba's trusty sidekick, his name is Pumbaa, right? And he has a warthog. Do you guys know what Pumbaa means? It actually means foolish. Thanks for playing. And if you actually look up here on the left-hand side, though, you'll notice these giant guys up here on the right. And these are white rhinos. They will get their name from the Afrikaans word meaning bite. In reference to their very wide jaws. It does mean wide. Now, those white rhinos are the largest of the rhino species. They can weigh up to 5,000 pounds. They have actually been clocked at running at speeds of 35 miles per hour. Rhinos are notorious, however, to having very, very poor eyesight, which makes sense that a group of rhinos like this is called a crash. They will make up for that lack of eyesight, though, with an incredibly keen sense of smell, as well as very, very good hearing as well. Now, you can also see some eggs down there on the ground. Does anyone want to take a guess on who those belong to? They do not belong to the rhinos, in case anyone was wondering. They are actually ostrich eggs, though. And ostriches are the world's largest bird, so it makes sense that their eggs are equally as large. Those eggs can weigh about 3 pounds each. And they are so rock solid that a fully grown ostrich or human can stand on top of them without breaking them. Pretty impressive, huh? Now we are actually going to set our sights and start making our way back up towards the village of Harambe. And Harambe actually does mean to come together, just as we really need to come together to help out all of these amazing animals. And you know, a lot of the animals that we have seen out here today, or tonight, are critically endangered, like the bongos, or in threat of becoming endangered, or in terms of bontebok, extinct out in the wild, which means the only place that you can see them are on reserves like this. And you know what, that is absolutely not okay, because we really want to see these animals survive, and not only survive, but we want them to thrive as well. So we really need to come together to make sure that these animals are around for future generations, and they don't become just a picture in a book. So one thing you can do right in your own home is just by simply recycling, and not just recycling your paper, your plastic, but recycle your electronics as well. And that can help give these animals a great, big, and beautiful tomorrow. Now, if you do want to help these animals out in a little bit of a different way, my suggestion is to support a local conservation fund. For example, the Disney Conservation Fund actually gives back 100% of what is donated and matches it, and to date they've actually raised about $65 million to help out endangered species across 150 different countries, like the rhinos, the hippos, the lions, as well as the Sumatra tigers. Now, it doesn't matter what fund you donate to, just make sure you do your research first. It does actually sound like we are coming back to civilization, which means there is really only one thing left to do. And unfortunately, that means it is time for us to say goodbye. However, here in Harambe, we really don't like to say goodbye because it is far too sad and it is far too final. Instead, I'm going to leave you with a Swahili phrase, kwaherini. Can you guys say kwaherini? Now that means to go well. So kwaherini, my friends, go well, go wild. Once again, my name is Ashley, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom, or really, wherever your travels may take you. Holding.
Alright, you guys, touch your fingers and toes. Doors are sliding open on your step. Why are you here so late?
Because that's what they told me to do. Bye, radio. Have a good night.
Bye, bus. Goodbye, the bus.
More like